Hello everybody and welcome back, fellow makers and foam fanatics. I want to introduce you to a personal friend of mine. This is the M41-A Pulse Rifle. That's 10mm explosive caseless tip ammo above and below the 30mm grenade launcher. Get some! Again everybody, this was from the movie Aliens. I saw this in the theater when I was very young, back in the 80s. And ever since then that gun has made such an impression on me, but always wanted it. So of course, when I saw it online, they made an airsoft version of it. I bought it. It came in the mail, and it's super awesome. But, like anything, it shoots BBs, because it's an airsoft, and it weighs a ton. And there's those two reasons why I can't take it to a con. So, what we're going to do is I'm going to make a foam reproduction of this. I won't lie, it's going to be a little difficult, but it's also going to be a lot of fun. So if you guys are ready, let's get started. But there it is in all its glory. This is super cool. I went ahead, there was a paper pattern I found online. And of course, I like it because I thought it took a lot of the work out for me. So I went ahead and bought it and started cutting up and realized there's some inconsistencies. And whoever built this did a good job, but he didn't have a replica to use, and I had one in front of me. So I was able to cut, change, and alter some patterns a little bit to save me some of the work of just doing this from scratch. Out of foam, since I have the gun in front of me, I was able to stare at it long enough to think about, okay, how am I going to break this down? This guy, I knew for a fact it's about it's 1.5 inches, so I went ahead, patterned it out, and made this. This is 1-inch EVA foam with 1/2-inch EVA foam glued on top of each other. Now, I'm going to do a solid piece of foam, so we have that plotted out. Done. This definitely will be rounded off. I'm going to add detail. All this finer detail we'll probably end up doing with 2mm foam, but we got this built. So I got that done and patterned these guys out and cut them out of, again, 1/2-inch EVA floor mat foam. And for the lower part here, I had the clip. I went ahead and cut these guys out as well. So I have the patterns, I've did some alterations. So what I need to do next is I'm going to start to figure out the distance and thickness of how wide things need to be on the spacing. So I got this and it looks good, but you never really know until you have it all together. So I'm going to do this for safety. I'm going to pin this together. See, now this is pretty much, this is looking really good. I'm really happy with how this all come together. So now I have to start thinking about, we're going to have to cut a strip that's going to run inside this part. Oh yeah, much better. Yeah, that's it. I got most of the math figured out on this. I'm happy with the distance, the spacing, the strips. We definitely have to go back and figure out the insides. We're going to put some pieces in there as well. But for now, let's go ahead and move on. Now this part, as you can see, is going to go right back here on the clip. Do the same thing. We're going to pin these together. But before I do that, I realize I need to have these guys bend. And the taper and all this angle. There's so much crazy stuff going on here. Before I get this, I need to get these guys dialed in. I'm going to fold this line back here like this. Get my Dremel. So this part here is a slight triangle from that point down. So I'm going to look at that. I'm going to plot this pattern out. Goes in like that. Yeah, let's cut this. All right, this looks good. This is all coming together. This looks awesome. So the same piece we have cut here, we'll have to go on the inside as well, but I'll have to cut it like about. This guy's gonna go right in here like this. Where that trigger part is, we're gonna cut that and just step it back a little bit. Instead of grinding into it, we'll just cut back into it. See? Yeah, that's all I'll do. So I'll basically just glue this guy in first. Glue that one in first and come in later and drop this one in like that. Majority of this all pretty much assembled. I got the spacing where I like it. I'm definitely going to take these guys. And from these spacing, now I can actually get the proper measurements for the inside, which I'll definitely do all this. Now we've got this placed. The clip and everything's all patterned out. And let's start gluing things together and build from there. Everybody, while you were gone, I went ahead and started. I got the dimensions for the. We knew about the width and had the patterns for that, but I want to let you guys in a little trick. When you're gluing something flat, or a rifle or a gun, make sure when you glue these parts on, you have to keep this on a flat surface. You might get a little bit of a curve and it might bow on you a little bit. So to prevent that from happening, when I glue these parts down, to make sure it's nice and flat. Now with I brush contact adhesive on this edge and the other edge, and I put it together, and it makes this. There it is. Got the top heart. Again, if you look at it, there's the key, making sure it stays nice and straight. Now for the screw holes, I went ahead and did the brass tube technique. Just cut it. As a matter of fact, I go into details on this on my video on how to detail foam. I'm going to go ahead and finish out. I have my bottom part. Now, I know what you're thinking. Contact adhesive, Ted, you're supposed to wait for it to dry. Now, you can do that, but for something like this, what I do is I apply glue both the surfaces of the foam and kind of push the part in where it fits, where I like it. Because the solvent and the contact adhesive will evaporate, and when it evaporates, it'll dry. So we're going to set this aside, let this dry. Alright guys, this is the actual lower receiver of the pulse rifle. And this is a recessed hole for the grenade launcher. Alright. Oh, it's so damn bright. You guys can see that. And I have a stone bit. And the reason I like this one because it has a flat. It's flat on the top. Now, the edges are sharp, but I'll definitely go back and cut a piece of thin 2mm foam of the same shape and just kind of drop it in there. Since this is black, I'm going to use my silver Sharpie, but it's not just a Sharpie, it's TNT Cosplay Sharpie. Yeah. Now for this detail, they're round on the end, it's always a pain in the butt. So I was thinking I could take a brass tube right here on the end. Now if the two holes are cut on the corners, cut. So you guys can see. Ta-da! Look at that. That's how you get the nice round edges on on the slots. Let's move on to the handle. This is the handle. I cut this out of, again, this is 1-inch TNT foam, EVA foam, right there. Again, when you're doing woodwork, you pick a speed, going nice and slow, or fast, depending on how thick you want your line. Looking good. Got some super glue, just like that. Perfect. Now, of course, we got you guys. We're at this point right now. While you guys were gone, I went ahead and put the side detail. This is this 2mm foam detail on both sides. I used a strip of 6mm because actually the gun has a piece that runs directly underneath it. On the back, there's a bit of detail on that, and I did this with 2mm. Of course, I capped off the ends again with 3mm on the cap. Got the handle with all the detail on both sides. Capped off the clip. That's done. And this is the bolt. It's going to go. That's going to be separate as well. So let's start putting these parts together. Now for the barrel of this weapon, something solid like this great wood. I got the wood dowel rod. Even though it's going to be on a foam weapon, I need to wrap this in foam. So I'm going to get some black 2mm foam and wrap this. Now on 2mm foam, you don't have to go really heavy with the glue. It can go really thin. I'm going to line this up. Bang, look at that, right down the center. Nice. Got that. Yeah, see, that's the same diameter because I just need a little bit of a barrel out of foam. And I'm going to cut it right smack dab in the center. And of course I'm going to glue that on, and that is going to be my barrel. Alright, well I'll tell you what, now that this barrel is done, got the tip on it, let's move on to some detail parts. This is the center, matter of fact, this is where the pulse rifle, this is the center section where the bolt action happens. And so I have this piece right here. And we're going to add some detail to that with some 2mm foam. Our next step is going to take a piece of brass tubing. So all these round parts, just to cut them, it's always, I find it easier. There you go, got it. What I do is I'm going to glue this on top of that. Alright, got it. I got that. I'll glue this little post in the center back here. That's done. This goes right here. See? I'm going to glue this on here. These lines I'm going to put in with a wood burner. Ah, perfect. A little bit of detail right here. There we go. Now that's what I call detail. Looking good. Cut it at an angle like this. You guys can see it right there. Cut a little bit like this. There. And put a little bit, let's do a couple lines in there real quick. Oh, right. That looks great. We're going to drop this bad boy inside. Drops in just like that. Now with this technique, what I want to do is I want to apply kind of adhesive to both parts at the same time and apply it while it's wet. And this is actually the front, and this actually sits right here on the front of the gun. I'm 1/2 inch back. Take some super glue, just like that. Now that we have this placed, a straight pin that down. Got it. See, now that we have these parts placed, this will show me where the barrel is going to fall. Right there. Good. Yeah, looks good there. So you just take a Sharpie and make a mark, which I kind of already did. So now I know the diameter of my barrel, which is, let's go to this. It'd be a lot easier if I just take all this off and grind it. So let's do that. We drop our barrel in. That's it. Look at that. This is the front of the gun, and this is where the front detail is right here. And this is, I cut this part out of 8mm foam, and I ground this out for a piece of PVC pipe we're going to use for the barrel. There you go. Let's jump on the stock of the gun. Another thing about super glue I like, it's fast. I'm going to do a little bit of a test fit back here. Exactly, that looks great. There it is. Now there's our stock. And there, glue. Down. Now we get this done. Let's move on to the grip. Got that. All right, our next step is to start gluing these big parts together. You gotta make sure it goes on nice and straight. We have these two parts glued together. We're gonna move on to the barrel. The first step is, this is the plate. This is the bottom plate that's gonna hold these side details on. So we have to install this first. This is, oh, by the way, this is a 6mm foam. I cut a bevel in the back half so it can go up flush. A little space on both sides, the 2mm detail to be glued onto. We're now going to proceed to put some Barge cement on the back of this guy. Just like that, smear it around. All right, now that our barrel is secured, it's putting on the detail. Apply glue there. Now the barrel is done. This looks great. It's mounted. We're going to move on to the clip. The contact points on this clip are here and this front part here. In this spot. Because the reason I'm doing that, because it would be a bit of a trick. Pin this in place. Okay, while this is drying, let's talk about the grip here real quick. But I noticed the grip on the gun had a little bit of a lip on both sides. So I took 6mm foam and cut really thin strips. This one in the back I just cut with a bevel and glued it on. And for this guy, but on the front one, it's just on the bottom. Let's move on to the handle. All right, the handle looks good. Let's go and take the pins out. All right, we got this, line it all up on the back here, nice and flush on the bottom here. Voila, okay. right, here's the airsoft replica. This is the part I'm reproducing. You can see it's a little thick here. Got a screw here, it wraps up and comes around and clamps on. So I'm going to reproduce this out of foam. Track where things fall. We have this piece in place. Got the side detail thickness there. We're going to wrap 2mm foam from here and be right up on top of this, just like that. You start here, and then it comes up. You follow the edge. Boop, there you go, see? The next piece that we're going to be gluing in is actually the plate that sits in here, like so. And this is where the digital counter goes in. When actually making this gun, I found out that you can actually, people make digital counters you can buy to install into your prop guns, your airsofts. But since it's a foam one, I still want this to light up. Okay, so how I'm gonna go about mounting this in is I got a piece of foam that I cut with a brass tube, glued that in here. The lights we're going to use to light up the pulse rifle are these really expensive lights you can get. I got these on Amazon, definitely have links for these below. Plastic cover off. And how you turn them on, you just twist them. And the lens focuses the beam, and I want to spread the light out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Dremel and a sanding drum. I'm going to grind this. Now you can actually grind these lenses because if you look closely, it's just all glass, or plastic that is, from there back. Of course, this little tab in the back here, I don't need that either, so let's go ahead and cut that off as well. Here again is the lens that I made. Again, this is on the red acrylic. Masked off, painted it. This is the housing for it. I proceeded to do this out of Centro. I like this, it's a little more stable. This is going to fit inside there, just like that, and glue that in there. But I got a piece of white milk acrylic. I'm going to go ahead and super glue the diffusion on the back. All right, we got it. Let's do a little test run. There you go, got that. And I put this guy on top like that. Ta-da, look at that, see? And it lights up. So the next thing we want to do is we're going to put, I want to make sure I mount this down with magnets. Got it. Now, let's do a test fit. There's the M41-A Pulse Rifle. This came out great, guys. Again, all the foam, all securely glued. Got the details in it. So happy with this. Like I said, the best way to do it is, as you saw, just to do all these in different pieces and slowly as put them all together. This was an adventure making. And again, the light looks great. Because that was one of the missing links to this gun, is I liked it, but the digital counter. They do make the digital counters out there for these guns, but there's a low budget way of doing that. It turned out great. This gun is basically done. I guess for me, all I have to do is coat it. There it is, the M41-A Pulse Rifle from Aliens. This was an absolute blast to make. Again, this took a little longer than I expected. There was a lot of different parts and details, but again, the best way to build is to do it in different pieces. But I had a lot of fun making it. And if you would like yourself an M41-A Pulse Rifle, go ahead and go to my website, eviltedsmith.com, and download the pattern. And while you're there, be sure to get on my mailing list. And when you're shopping, shop through my Amazon links helps. And if you're watching this video for the first time, don't forget to subscribe. Every little bit helps, guys. If it wasn't for you, I would not be here making this stuff. Thank you so much for your support. Guys, this was a blast. I'm looking forward to making more stuff from Aliens. And stick around, because what I'm going to do next is I'm going to coat this, seal it, and the next video will be is me painting this bad boy. Guys, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you back next time right here on Evil Ted Live. Get some!